Good evening and welcome to YouTube's coverage of this post-analysis debate of the second presidential debate. The final debate will be next Monday night. We have an outstanding panel. We'll be including your tweets as well. We hope you enjoyed that spirited debate moderated by Candy Crowley from Hofstra University in New York. I'm Larry King, the host of Larry King Now on Aura TV, which is distributed by Hulu. Tonight we're with you on YouTube for this last presidential debate. Coming up Monday will be the last presidential debate, this second presidential debate. Meghan McCain is with us, the columnist of the Daily Beast, best-selling co-author of America, You Sexy Bitch, A Love Letter to Freedom, and the daughter of the former presidential nominee John McCain. Margaret Cho is the award-winning comedian, actress, and best-selling author, longtime gay rights, anti-bullying, and anti-racism activist. Howard Bragman is vice chairman of Reputation.com, a world-famous public relations expert. We'll be joined in a little while by our old friend Dan Rather, who'll be with us from New York. And over at the social media setup is David Begnaud, who'll be our social media expert. He's the host and executive producer of Aura TV's social media show Newsbreaker, which launched this week. And for more information on that, follow Newsbreaker on Facebook and Twitter. Well, how'd it go? Meghan?
I think it was a draw. I think, Romney did okay. He didn't do incredible, and I thought the president came back swinging like we all thought he would.
Margaret?
I thought Obama did great. I felt like he won, but I also felt like this really was about him. You know, they were talking a lot about the middle class. They were talking a lot about unemployment. They were talking about women. They were talking about these issues that Obama's going to shine, and immigration, things that, people want to hear him talk about. So
you're saying it played to him?
It played to him for sure.
Howard?
Yeah, I would agree. I think when they do the polling, the president's going to win, but I think Meghan's right. It's going to be a relatively small margin. I think Romney supporters are going to find a lot they liked about the debate. I think the president's supporters, I've been reading social media all night as this has been going on. They're like, he's back, and I'm like, where was this guy 2 weeks ago?
He's certainly re-energized.
Yeah.
Himself, right?
But I think it was a better format for him, the walking around. I think Romney does better with a podium and more structure, and I think them just walking around and sort of Candy Crowley, sort of going in and out, I think it worked a lot better to the president's strengths.
And we are now joined as well by my old friend, the former anchor at CBS Evening News, Dan Rather, one of the best reporters ever in the media. Dan is with us in New York. And Dan, what was your view of what we just saw for 95 minutes?
Well, first of all, Larry, it's an honor always to be on with you. Thank you very much for having me. I wouldn't be surprised if the polling, at least the early polling, edge for President Obama. But my own first impression, very first impression opinion is this was pretty close to a draw, pretty close to a tie. If there was an edge, it may have been a very slight whisker-thin edge for President Obama. We'll see what the early polling shows, but the most important polling is that polling that takes place after about the next 3 days and before the next presidential debate on Monday night.
Do you agree that Obama showed much more energy tonight than in the first debate?
Oh, no question about it, Larry. For those who thought, not my opinion, those who thought that President Obama's brain kind of turned to guacamole in the first debate, they saw tonight those people who had those kinds of thoughts. What many people thought Obama should have done in the first debate. President Obama was energetic, he was focused, he was in the moment, he was on top of his game. It's not to say that Governor Romney wasn't. I thought that Governor Romney did pretty well. But this was a different Obama. There'll be many Democrats are saying, why didn't he do that the first time? And that's a fair question.
Would you say, Dan, that there would be less people undecided after tonight? I mean, a clear difference is shown tonight.
Well, what a good question, Larry, because that's where this election is going to be decided. With the so-called swing voters in swing states, voters who had not made up their minds, might have been leaning one way or the other, but really hadn't decided. They're the ones who are the key to the November election. And each candidate tonight tried his very best to appeal to those voters. I think specifically within that group, swing voters in swing states, the vote of women is the most important. And in that particular area, I think that President Obama probably scored better than Governor Romney tonight.
Meghan?
I don't don't know. I mean, I thought Governor Romney talking about his record with hiring women, and the president has a very poor record with hiring women within his administration. I thought, circling in on that, I actually thought he responded very well, considering the quote-unquote war on women that's been going on for the last year.
Are you surprised, Margaret, that abortion never came up?
Well, it came up a little bit talking about cutting funding to Planned Parenthood, and also
They didn't use the word abortion.
They didn't use it. They talked about contraception. They talked about mammograms. They talked about everything but, and it's one of those things that it really is such a divisive issue and a really important one, especially to a voter like myself.
David Begnaud is at the social media desk, or should I say is at the map. David, what's the story there?
Larry, we've been tracking tweets per minute, and at one point, both Governor Romney and President Obama were at 70,000 plus and more tweets. Look at how it tracked from the start of the debate. So Romney hits Obama on gas prices, and they hit about 35,000. It starts to climb when Romney says, I will not increase taxes on the middle class. Romney's getting about 63,000 tweets at that minute. Okay, we continue going. Big Bird, remember Big Bird? How he became famous at the last debate? When Obama mentioned Big Bird at this debate, he dropped quite a bit. As we continue, Romney talks about balancing the budget, and he really starts to jump. That's about 30 minutes into the debate. Can we continue down the graph as we're tracking? Right now, actually, the president, Larry, looking live, has 31,000 tweets per minute as compared to the governor. For most of the night, the governor has been in the lead. Look at this. About 45 minutes into the debate, Romney says, President Bush and I are different people, and these are different times. He jumps to 63,000 tweets, and things start to level off. Go toward the end of the graph where we are right now. About, I'd say, 8:15, Obama says, I'm the president and I'm the one always responsible. He's talking about Libya. He hits about 40,000 tweets. Continue on as we're watching the debate. They talk about Libya. They talk about women's issues. And look at this, Obama to Romney. I don't look at my pension. Yours is bigger than mine. People making a lot of jokes. At that point, he jumped to about 60,000 tweets.
Help me, David. I hate to interrupt.
Yep, go ahead.
Are the tweets meaning it's favorable, or they're just tweeting about what he said?
It could be both.
So how do we know?
It could be, we don't. It could be positive or negative, but every time they mention the man, they measure the tweets that way. So it could be favorable or unfavorable.
In other words, you could say Hitler and get 100,000 tweets.
Hitler could
you don't
trend.
know what you said, right?
Hitler could spike, but we're not tracking Hitler, at least tonight.
No, what I mean is it's just, it doesn't tell us whether they're favorable tweets.
It does not. It's not scientific. Remember, this is Twitter. People vent on Twitter. Obama says, I'm the president and I'm the one responsible. He's talking about Libya and he starts to drop off. Then toward the end of the debate, when they talk about gun control, Romney and Obama both jump to about 50,000 tweets. I would say from what we have been measuring, when it comes to tweets and who had more over the night, Larry, it was Governor Romney as opposed to the president. When we come back, we'll tell you what people were saying in the Twitter world. A lot of liberals saying that the president finally showed up tonight and looked ready for a fight, if you will.
Dan, I must ask you, what do you make of the whole social media question, of the tweeting and the Twitters and the Facebook? What do you make of it all?
Well, first of all, it's become very important in these presidential campaigns. Well, in this campaign specifically, this is the first time that social media has been a major factor. I would point out that social media can be manipulated. There can be an organized effort to tweet. And I have no doubt, I have no specific information, but I have no doubt that each side tonight was trying to affect the number of tweets that were put up. It sounds like that Governor Romney, perhaps by a small margin, had more tweets. But we need more analysis of what those tweets were. How many of the tweets were favorable, how many were not unfavorable. I'm not sure we know that. But I'll just point out that in the same way that overnight polling, tracking polls, can be manipulated, that social media can be manipulated.
Was there, Howard, in your opinion, a signal bright moment for each person tonight? Was there a moment?
I think when the president really got to, there were a couple moments when the president got to talk about women, about immigration, to his core, that was his moment. I think Romney's possibly best moment when he was talking about George Bush and he said, these are different times and I'm a different president. I think that was his high point of the night. I'm a different man. That was his high point of the night, Larry.
What do you think? Meghan?
I think
the high
Romney
point?
did really well talking about the economy and emphasizing just, what the huge deficit we're in and all the statistics he said. I think for President Obama, just the moment that will probably get a lot of news on Twitter, which I don't know, I don't put too much clout on tweets per second after a debate, is when he said, "Say it again, Candy," when he was referring to her defending him over Libya. And I think that, and the gangbang got a lot of, from what I saw on Twitter, there's just the fact that that word was referenced, which may or may not be a politically correct term. From what I saw.
Gangbanger?
Yeah, gangbanger.
I'm just choking at the Bush reference. We're still not liberals, really not over George Bush at all. So
I know, it's
when they
amazing.
bring him up in this kind of a context, it's like you bring up so much. It's a hard name for Romney to live down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very hard thing for him to compare himself to or have to.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit during the debate, just the fact that Bush is still so toxic in so many Republican circles. He has not brought out
My
to
audio is cutting in
campaign,
and out.
not brought out to fundraise, and it's still during this time. It's incredible. You just mentioned Bush, and it spikes for Obama. We got some little PR problems with Bush.
Dan, did you expect George Bush to come up in this debate tonight?
I did.
You did?
I expected that if it were not raised otherwise, that President Obama would probably raise it. Larry, you and I have been around long enough to know that American presidential elections are generally decided by the candidate who talks best about the future. Our elections are not about the past, generally speaking. They're about the future. But this was raised by a questioner, I think, and I thought in the question of who had the best moments and when, that was one of the better moments for President Obama to talk about, in effect, what he inherited and the differences between him and the President George W. Bush's administration, and then tying Romney to President George W. Bush. I thought Governor Romney played defense as well as he could, but defense he had to play, and that's not the best posture. Keeping in mind that Romney for a lot of the night was on the attack, but he had to be in defensive posture on that.
We have students here as well. Sophia Campos, I believe, is with us. She's a 2012 UCLA graduate in political science. She discovered she was undocumented individual at age 17. She worked to pass the California DREAM Act, has interned in Washington, D.C. Do you have a question or a comment, Sophia?
Yes, thank you, Larry. My question is, how does Romney's flip-flopping, especially on women's issues and immigration tonight, how does that affect his image and his chances at this election? And is the American public doing a good job of following the different stances that he's been displaying throughout the campaign?
Do you think he flip-flopped tonight?
No, but I think the immigration issue, the self-deportation, is something that's just going to live with him forever. And Republicans have a huge problem with the Hispanic vote. And with DREAM Act students, I do a lot of work with DREAM Act students, and you guys are all very brave. I support the DREAM Act, but yeah, it's a big problem with Republicans. It's something I can't really defend right now.
And what do you think, Margaret?
Well, whenever you have Obama talking about race and immigration and these issues, I mean, he's he's our candidate. He's a candidate my family would vote for. My family's been here for 30 years and they've never voted, and finally they registered to vote for the first time for Obama. And this is the people that he's talking to. And so, I mean, really, Mitt Romney cannot stand a chance against all of that kind of cultural baggage that Obama brings to immigration and the dream of immigration.
Howard?
You could just see the president's comfort level talking to the Latino voter, and Romney looked a little awkward and a little uncomfortable. And I mean, I think it was palpable to me. And I just think those are the president's great moments, frankly. I mean, you get to talk to your base, you get to talk to your friends. Who doesn't want to talk to your friend?
Dan, is immigration a big issue in this race? Dan?
I'm sorry?
Is immigration a big issue in this race?
Well, I think it is a big issue, as has been suggested in previous parts of the conversation, because in a race that appears to be as close as this one, the Hispanic heritage vote could be the deciding factor. Yeah. And if President Obama is able to get, say, 65 to 70% of the Hispanic vote, which at this moment looks within reach, it could be the difference in a place such as Nevada, just to pick one place. And I do think that while Governor Romney had some strong points tonight, that he looked most uncomfortable when the subject turned to immigration, and President Obama had some of his best moments in talking about immigration. I don't think that Governor Romney helped himself with the Hispanic heritage vote tonight, and I do think that President Obama probably did help himself some.
By the way, don't forget to subscribe to youtube.com/OraTV. We welcome subscribers aboard, and you can join our debate conversation on Twitter and Google, plus using Ora2012 hashtag. Send us your question, tell us what you think. Again, subscribe to youtube.com/OraTV. David?
Larry, we've actually been tracking the tweets as they were coming in from notable people related to topics of gun control, Libya, women's issues. Look at Joe Scarborough, the MSNBC host. As Romney was talking about Libya, Joe tweeted, "Romney's fumbling through a question on Libya he should be owning." Josh Greenman tweeting, "Romney lost this Libya exchange badly." When it comes to gun control, MSNBC host Melissa Harris Perry tweeting, "Gun control at a debate? Hell yeah. Go ordinary Americans." Comedian Josh Fungelsang saying, "Finally a gun control question, something both sides can dodge." It was interesting as other issues came up. T-Lish tweeting, "Did someone spike Mitten's juice with caffeine? He's going crazy," especially when he and the president seem to get into a bit of a sparring match, cutting one another off. Bette Midler, Larry, tweeting tonight, "So where are the jobs? What does it take? Answer the question, Mitzi." Ben Shapiro, a syndicated columnist at Breitbart, tweeting, "Obama, wake up tonight. Sadly, he lies more when he is awake." Tara Wallace, a journalist, tweeted, "President Obama just nailed Romney on Bain Capital without saying Bain Capital. As I tell my kids, use your words, Mr. President." And finally, Bill Maher tweeting tonight, "Welcome back, Black Ninja."
Well, apparently the consensus would be that Obama recovered some from that first debate. Would that be, the panel would agree on that?
Absolutely.
I mean, it depends who's watching. You know, this is the second debate. There's still one more. From what I understand, there's a sports event going on at the moment. A bachelorette broke up with her fiance, which someone texted me. I mean, I don't know how many people were really watching.
The questions were really, really good for Obama, and this whole round seemed to be very much about Obama's time. You know, it kind of was like really directed at him. It was all these things that were just, you know, women, immigration, things that he could speak to with a lot of authority and dignity and hope.
And the fact that the baseball game was going on actually helps Obama with the women's vote. It means that you're probably going to see 57% women watching.
You're looking at states.
Men.
You're looking at Michigan and New York. It was the Tigers playing the Yankees. And if
that's not it, but you're looking at the undecided people. You're looking at who's watching the debates, who's undecided, and we care more about Ohio and Florida in there. And you have to say that women are probably going to watch a little more because men are going to skew more towards the baseball. It's going to help Obama when his base sees a really strong Obama.
Dan, do you think it's going to work its way down to Ohio?
I do. I think it will work down to Ohio, and I'm glad you raised that point, Larry, because it's very important to understand that at this stage of the race, and I expect this to continue, we talk about what one candidate or the other said about women or gun control. It's one thing to try to judge that on a national basis, but this race right now comes down to 3 states, Florida, Virginia, and Ohio. It's very hard to do the electoral college math and see how Governor Romney can win if he doesn't carry all 3 of those states. It's absolutely imperative that he covers 2 of those states, he carries 2 of those states. So the important thing is how this debate played in Florida, Virginia, and Ohio, and if you had to pick one, most especially Ohio. So while we're measuring nationwide tweets and a nationwide poll, I'll be very interested to see how the breakdown goes in those 3 states, because that's what the election is going to come down to. I have some notes here, Larry, for whatever they may be worth that I took and had some help taking during the debates, that Obama had more facts on immigration than Romney had on facts. Romney tried to paint with a broad brush. President Obama was specific in that. Romney had momentum for a great deal of the debate, and give him credit for that. Romney's weakest moment perhaps was on Libya. He had a great opportunity. President Obama was vulnerable there, and when Joe Scarborough, the NBC host of the morning program there, said that that Governor Romney sort of botched a golden opportunity. I would agree with that. I wouldn't actually say botched, but he didn't take full advantage of that. Now, Romney, he did his best to play defense on outsourcing jobs. While Bain Capital was never mentioned by name, that clearly was the subject at one point, and Governor Romney looked, to my eyes at least, and to my ears and sound, most uncomfortable with that. Romney, somebody said Romney tried to play the bully with the moderator in the debate. I think that's too strong. Romney learned in the first debate that he needed to fight to keep talking, to get face time and sound time. And in the early part of the debate, he did that somewhat better than he did in the latter part of the debate. Give the moderator, Candy, some credit for keeping things under control on that thing. Obama brought up the 47% comment, which has dogged Governor Romney, and I thought he did that fairly effective. Romney played defense as best he could, but it's very difficult to play defense on that subject.
Do you think he was weak on Libya?
I think he could have hit the president much harder. This is Achilles heel for him. Yeah, this is Achilles heel for President.
Strong.
This is an Achilles heel for President Obama. I mean, he was strong, but he could have gotten more in the beginning. Just the fact that he even let Candy Crowley interject with whether or not they said it was a terrorist attack or not, and the fact is he waited 2 weeks to call it a terrorist attack. So
well, and I think Romney's one of his worst moments was when Candy Crowley supported the president's assertion that the president said it was terrorism right after, and the president. All of us knew the Libya question was coming, and the president was prepared. Right. And took responsibility. And what else can you do at that point but be prepared and take responsibility? He didn't try and talk about the congressional budget. He didn't do anything but say the buck stops here, and it worked okay for Harry Truman.
600 comments so far. Darren Facebooking, aggressive, assertive, bold, confident, and informed. Susan saying President Obama won. Kelly, Obama schooling Romney. Jennifer, Mitt is a big liar. Andreas, hilarious verbal beating. Russell says Romney's a lying fool. Marcus agrees with him. Austin says Obama was amazing, and we'll just forget what Ryan says because he's using a little curse word. Let me bring in Laura. Larry, she is a political science major at UCLA.
Laura
what
Watson.
did you think of the debate tonight? Who do you think won, by the way?
I think Obama won this one.
What is your question for the panel?
In your opinion, has Romney's performance in these debates so far compensated for his now infamous 47% comment?
Has he overcome that, Meghan?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think the way he explained it tonight, that he represented 100% of all Americans, and I think it was something that sort of manifested and exacerbated by the media, and I don't think, I don't think it has been a big deal, especially with his performance in the last debate and now this one.
Margaret?
I think it's going to be hard for him to overcome it. I mean, that's why he's making such a big show of like making, new jobs and helping the economy. And he's really trying to reach out to lower classes. He's trying to reach out to the working class. He's really trying to make himself seem like much more of a modern, much more concerned about poor people. Like he definitely has skewed his image to change what his public image is now.
He has reinforced, Howard, though, that he will not lower taxes on the rich.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to go back to what she asked. When the history of this presidential campaign is written, if Romney loses, the 47% moment is the moment everyone will remember. And not just because it happened, because it reinforced so much that the president and others have been trying to define and say about Mitt Romney.
By the way, we want to welcome our viewers watching us on YouTube Spotlight. They have just joined us from YouTube Spotlight. YouTube's been with us all the way. I understand that Spotlight bumps it ahead. And we're going to have a panelist joining us as well. We're with Dan Rather and Meghan McCain, Margaret Cho, and Howard Bragman, and David Begnaud at our social media spot. But we're going to be joined now by a very talented actor and one of the great impressions of Barack Obama ever. Let's watch this clip of Iman Croson.
Well, this ain't a challenge, it's just a way to blow off steam. He can't be serious, walking around in those mom jeans. And with that, I'ma ask, why you mad? I got his whole team scrambling, trying to find him some swag. Suckers, I don't know what you take me as, or understand the intelligence that Prezi B has. Man, I'm out here trying to function, trust me, I ain't done. I've got 99 props, but Mitt ain't one. Hit me.
Iman has racked up more than 100 million views for his comedy videos on YouTube.com/AlphaCat. He rated the #1 Barack impressionist in an online vote by the Huffington Post. Is he hard to do?
Luckily, our vocal registers are kind of similar. So when it comes to doing impressions, if your vocal register is similar to someone else's, it makes it a lot easier. I did spend a lot of time studying his inflections, his cadences, his pauses, his choice of words.
Do you do impressions?
I do some impressions. Overall, I'm an actor. And when I first started doing the impression, at the time I was a waiter, I was tired of, waiting tables, and someone made a suggestion like, oh, you kind of, could do like a Barack, and then, I kind of had an epiphany where it was like, I could work on this impression early and get out there and kind of corner.
Now, how did you come to bring it to the social media aspect?
Well, I had already been on YouTube posting comedic sketches and, blogging and vlogging, things like that. And I figured if I get out on the internet, I understood the power of the internet. If I could get on the internet and share it with, a large amount of people, it could reach a lot more people faster than just going to, say, auditions and saying, hey, look at my impression,
All right, President, how did you do tonight, President Obama?
Well, look it. I think, firstly, it's fair to say that this time, I won. Last time, I was a little bit sleepy. This time, I was wide awake, and America can be proud. Thank you.
It's weird.
It's great. I think the genius is in the pauses, actually. It's like in the silence.
And all the
hear it.
And the hand gestures.
I think this is your jobs for it, because if the president's reelected, you're going to have a six-figure job.
Who said he hasn't created jobs? I mean, here's one.
Iman, how did you think the debate went?
I thought this debate, objectively, was a very good debate. I think a lot of Democrats will agree that they saw the president do this time around what he didn't do last time. I think a lot of Democrats can be pleased with what happened. I think even Republicans in general can be pleased with what Mitt Romney did. But I think overall, I think that, Barack came out very assertive. One thing when I watch Barack speak, he's always, of course, everyone else, he's the great orator. He's very charismatic. You see a flame in his eye. He's very passionate. I noticed even back in 2008 when he debated your father, Meghan, when he debates, for some reason, he tends to get a little bit subdued to the point that it's almost a dangerous level of being subdued. But tonight, I think he kind of, brought it back, and he showed everyone what he was made of. So that was really good.
By the way, Dan Rather is with us in New York, and I should mention that Dan Rather now works at Dan Rather Reports on AKS or AXS. Did you just say AX TV, Dan?
Access TV, Larry.
Access.
Thanks for asking. Access.
Dan, how important, we'll start with Dan and this for everybody, how important will turnout be?
I think turnout may decide the election in this sense, Larry. President Obama absolutely positively has to get his vote out. Mitt Romney is going to get his vote out, partly because so many Republicans detest, if not actually hate, President Obama and his policies. So Romney stands a better chance of getting his vote out and getting it out full. President Obama, by any reasonable analysis, is having more trouble matching his 2008 voter turnout. If Obama gets his turnout out, it could be decisive. But there is some question of how many people will turn out for President Obama, even if they're inclined to vote for him, because some of the enthusiasm has gone out of President Obama's momentum. I do think that President Obama, on that score, helped himself tonight. He learned from the first debate that you don't bring a plastic knife to a gunfight. And this time, he came fully armed, ready. He'd obviously studied much more than he did the last time and was much better prepared. So I think he's helped himself in a lot of ways, not the least of which is turnout. But no one should kid themselves. This election is still up for grabs. And any Democrat who is saying to him or herself tonight after this debate, well, Obama's going to win this, he's essential to win this, I have bulletin material for them. I've been saying since the middle of last year that Mitt Romney is a formidable candidate. He can win this election. He's still in a position to possibly win this election. I'm not saying he will, but he can win this election. And turnout is right now one of the big three to determine this election. Number one, the debates. Number two, the economy, including the situation with jobs and unemployment. And number three, turnout. That's the fulcrum on which this election will turn.
Great Ratherism, too, on the knife. I like that. What did you make, what did you make, Meghan, of the questions asked by the regular folks of the day rather than journalists?
I thought they were okay. I thought some of them, when they said they were an undecided voter, I wanted to know.
You didn't buy it?
There's a few of them. I was like, really, you're an undecided voter? Or are you an Obama supporter that just,
You said when the person brought up George Bush.
Yeah,
said
I mean,
first
really,
they were undecided.
That's
what you said.
Yeah, that's when I said. I was like, really, you're undecided? It was okay. This is not my favorite format. I don't know. I just prefer traditional podium debates.
Margaret, what did you think of
Well,
that
it did not seem like they were undecided, although the people that did admit that they were voting for Obama in 2008, they did sort of voice that one thing that we're all really afraid of talking about is the disillusionment. Mm-hmm. That is the bane of our existence. You know, the Obama supporters, we are part of a disillusioned group, and it's hard to bring that up in a debate like this.